back to the Seaboard Central, everyone, and part 7 in the Realistic Ops series. In today's video, we're going to talk about origins and destinations, or what the prototype refers to as OD pairs. And we're going to look at some loads, where they originate from and where they're destined to. And I'll show you some prototype examples, and I'll talk about some examples of OD pairs on the Seaboard Central. So if you find that interesting, keep watching. And without further ado, let's get started. So one of the industries I plan to model on the new layout is Southwire. And Southwire is located in Carrollton, Georgia. It's the largest industry actually in Carrollton. And on my layout, it's going to take up a lot of space. The main building right here is where we'll spot up plastic pellet covered hoppers. Here will be tank cars, and here will be box cars. And what Southwire does is they produce stranded wire, just like this that I purchased from Home Depot. They come in various sizes. So you can see how they need to get a lot of stuff by rail. So when it comes to plastic pellets, a lot of it originates from the same area, otherwise known as the chemical coast in Texas and Louisiana. So let's look at some actual prototype loads, waybills, headed to Southwire. So a great industry to have on any model railroad is an industry that receives plastic pellet covered hoppers. And you'll see here, those are those C214s, LO C214s, or plastic pellet covered hoppers. And in this case, this is a CCBX car that's owned by Union Carbide. And Union Carbide has a plant in Seadrift, Texas. And this train station, the railroad station, is North Seadrift, Texas. And it's actually located on the Union Pacific. And you can see here, that's the originating railroad. So it doesn't matter where your railroad is located. You can show these loads coming out of Seadrift, Texas on the UP destined to your line. So Union Carbide actually has another plant that's located in Taft, Louisiana on the UP. Here's another CCBX car. So this would be just a different grade of plastic. Remember, plastic comes in all different kind of grades. So you can have cars coming out of multiple locations with different grades. And so on a track, you can have multiple car spots, and each spot represents a grade of plastic, and it makes it more interesting to switch. Have you ever seen one of these cars in real life, a WLPX car? That stands for Westlake Polymers. And Westlake Polymers is located in Plaquemine, Louisiana, but the actual train station is Aberdeen, Mississippi, and it's located on the KCS. So if you have any of these cars on your layout, you can show them originating from Aberdeen, Mississippi on the KCS. Westlake Chemicals and Vinyl, another plastic pellet car. If you look at this waybill, you can see it's an ACFX covered hopper. And it's actually being leased by Westlake Polymers and being used to haul the plastic pellets. This one's headed to Southwire. But that doesn't mean that these cars will always go to Southwire. Once they return to Plaquemine, where they're loaded out of, they can go anywhere in the country, wherever the shipper sends them to. But it'll be loaded with the same kind of plastic pellets that are originated from this location. Here's another waybill. This time it's a tank car. You see the T106. This is an ECUX tank car, and ECUX reporting mark is actually owned by ExxonMobil. And this is a carload of plasticizer loaded out of Baton Rouge, Louisiana on the KCS. So it doesn't have to be my industry that's receiving this car. This car can empty out of this particular location, go back to this location, because that's where it'll always be loaded out of. It's assigned to this location. And then it'll be loaded out to anywhere in the country. Could be an industry on your layout. So if you have an ECUX tank car, this T106 size, you can say it's a load of plasticizer originated from Baton Rouge, Louisiana on the KCS from ExxonMobil. So the majority of my industries on my layout actually receive loads, but I do have 3 industries that can load out cars. One of them being the National Cement place right here that loads out cement hoppers. And a couple of them are destined to this location right here, this Argos cement plant, via my Gadsden yard. Another location that loads out cars is SLM Recycling right here. They'll load out gondolas. So let's look at the actual location that's located in Carrollton and where they send their loads to. When it comes to steel mills, most people think of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, but there are other parts of the country that actually has steel mills too, and one being Birmingham, Alabama, otherwise known as Iron City. In Birmingham, we have a Nucor steel plant, and here you see a carload of scrap iron coming out of Carrollton at SLM Recycling, headed to Birmingham. So I know where I can send my loads from that industry to, and I know they need to be interchanged to NS. During 2023, Home Shops LLC actually produced a line of these 50-foot boxcars for the Seaboard Central in 6 different road numbers. And if you're one of the lucky ones that was able to purchase them before they sold out, congratulations. What I can tell you about these cars is that they're actually loaded at the Port of Savannah, and they handle imports that are come in by ship, hence the docks to box service logo that are on their sides. They handle various products, including copper, rubber, plywood, beans, coffee, and rice. When it comes to operations, besides loads originating or terminating on prototype railroads, another way to make things really enjoyable is to include OD pairs with industries located on another freelance railroad. For example, this pair of MCIS covered hoppers that were also made by Home Shops LLC. These 2 cars were loaded with corn from Michigan Agricultural Commodities, located in Bay City, Michigan, on Greg McComas Michigan Interstate Railroad. And these cars were loaded out on his line. They traveled to Detroit, where they were interchanged to Norfolk Southern. Norfolk Southern handled the cars all the way to Alabama City, which then they were handed off to the Seaboard Central to end up being placed at ADM in Raglan, Alabama. To see more of Greg's layout, check out his Michigan Interstate St. Clair subdivision, found on Facebook. Finally, the last 2 examples are these 2 grain hoppers lettered for Freelance Railroads owned by Christopher Palmieri, the owner and founder of Home Shops LLC. His railroad is known as the Meridian Speedway and consists of 2 carriers known as the Texas and Great Northern, along with the Natchez, Trace, and Oriole. As you can see, Chris's Freelance Railroad covers a lot of territory all the way from Texas to Alabama. These 2 cars were actually loaded by Bunge in Vicksburg, Mississippi on the NTO, interchanged to Norfolk Southern in Meridian, which hauled it to Alabama City to be given to the Seaboard Central, and they're finally destined to ADM and Raglan. Like Greg, Chris has done a great job in making another believable freelance railroad. Developing origins and destinations is a great exercise in helping your model railroad seem more realistic and feel less like the model railroad and more like a real railroad with a purpose. So I hope you found the examples that I gave helpful to you to help you out. In next week's video, I'm going to talk about how many cars I'm actually going to need to run this layout. So be sure to tune in for that one. So until next time, I'm Tim Garland, and thanks for watching the Seaboard Central.